Hey, welcome everybody. So Robert would like to see as an example of using the reset blocker, and the example is to set up a signal to reset the signal blocker, and essentially it's just going to be a simple reversal of price, and use that reversal of price, a couple of different variances of price reversal to reset the signal blocker. So let's see. Alright, so I think what'll best illustrate is probably what I'll use the Pro Renko bars or the backtest bars. Okay, let me just kind of clear all this off here. Okay. So I'm going to change my data series, and I'll use the backtest Renkos, and I'll turn wave mode on so it looks nice and pretty. Okay, so I'm going to use these hybrid Renko bars here just because they're so easy to determine, a price reversal, and so we're going to do we're going to reset the signal blocker based on a couple of different price reversals. So we'll do essentially we'll create a signal, a reset signal on the first bar, and then we'll create a reset signal for the second bar, and so on and so forth, right? And then we'll create a reset signal for the third bar here, just like so. Let me stretch this out. Okay. Alright, first thing we want to do, is give our system a name. So I'll use last week's and change the date. Hope you guys haven't eaten all your candy yet for Halloween, right? Isn't that how they get you? They put the candy out too soon, and then you eat the first bag and you have to go back for more. Alright, so let's before I actually put the signal blocker on here, we're gonna build the signal that's gonna reset the signal blocker. Alright, so with this type of bar, we can just simply use the inflection solver here. So let me open my window up a little bit more. There we go. So in this case, I'm just going to look at the close price. Right? The closing price inflection, and I can just simply change my type to the closing price as a little shortcut, or I could use Chameleon. And right, so you guys have probably all seen this before. Nice and simple. So if you're using minute bars, let's put this on a 2-minute bar. So if you're using minute bars, you'll need to use something, I guess something like a moving average to kind of determine, when, whatever you want to use to determine, when you're kind of getting a price reversal, because as you can see on a minute chart, you're just constantly getting price reversals all the time. Little hectic there. So, all right. So let's put this back on the back test. And all right, so there's the a reset signal for the first bar that's reversing here. So let's take a look at a second bar, getting a signal on the second bar here. And what we'll need to do is take this inflection solver and, well, actually, let's see. I'm going to rename this here. So there we go. So there's a little more direct name there. And I should name my logic template as well. There we go. Okay. So we're building reset signal examples. So I'm just going to grab another inflection solver. And I'll set it up. I'll set this one up to generate a signal on the second bar. Like so. Alright, let's get that plugged in there. And we'll change this over to the closing price again. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my look back period to 2 in order to do this. Right, so you can see now that the reversals are 2 bars wide, right? So we get a signal 2 bars wide now by changing our look back period to 2. But what we want to do is we need to cancel out, right, this first bar reversal here. We need to cancel that guy out. So the way we can do that is I can use a bar direction solver. So first, let me draw a little rectangle on here to kind of give a little visual aid, right? So we have so there we go. We have a signal there from the inflection solver. And so now when I go to the bar direction, I'm going to set my number of bars to 2. Right? So that's going to require 2 bars in the same direction. And also, just for the sake of clarity, I'm going to change the mode from %. Right, you can see the % kind of has this analog look to it. So if I up this to 5, right, you can see this nice analog. It has this analog look to it. So because it's outputting a percentage. But if I change this to all or nothing, it gives us a nice kind of clean digital look. Let me change my number of bars back to 2. So now, if we look on the chart, the first down bar, there's no signal, and the first up bar, there's no signal. And so now, if I draw another rectangle representing the bar direction solver, and we can see that there's an overlap on these rectangles here, on these squares. And what we'll do is, if we use an AND node, that AND node is going to filter out that overlap. So there we go. So you see this overlap of these 2 rectangles, right? That's when we get our signal, by using the AND node. So I can, and I should name this, right? So this is actually a 2-bar direction solver now. Alright, so if I want to do if I want to do 3 bars in a row, right? You guys are probably guessed where I'm going with this. So I'm going to take a little shortcut, make a copy of that, take a little shortcut, make a copy of that, and I'll change the names on here. And switch back over to my logic board, and I'll just drop those new ones on the board here. So there we go. Now I just need to clean them up or set them up correctly. Right, so this is a reversal on the third bar, but I can see I'm only getting two bars with an output on them. So let's change my look back to 3, and there we go. Now we got 3 bars, and let's check the bar direction. And right, so I need to change the number of bars to 3, like so. And right, I'll update my little squares there to visualize what's going on. Right, so here's the inflection solver. So, and right there where those squares touch each other on that bar, that's where we're going to get a signal now. So let's drop a new AND node on here. And there we go. There's a signal on our third bar, like so. So there we go. So there's 3 different kind of reset signals here, based on how many bars after the reversal we want to use. All right. So now we can move on to actually demonstrating the signal blocker here. Let's see. All right, so first, before I can do that though, I will need to set up some kind of signal. So let me use a comparison solver here to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to compare the closing price. Alright, so I'm going to compare the current closing price to the previous closing price, 1 bar back. Right? So essentially I'm going to be, for example, I'm going to be comparing this closing price to the closing price of 1 bar back. Maybe drawing the arrows a little better, so I'm going to be, there you go, comparing the closing price to the closing price of 1 bar back, right, like so. Comparing this closing price to that closing price. And that'll also essentially kind of give me the bar direction. In the renko bars, it'll give me the bar direction, and with other bars, it'll kind of it'll generally tell you what the bar direction is as well. So to get the closing price, so for indicator B, to get the closing price, remember I need to use this displacement here, and we can see up here in indicator A the displacement has disappeared. So I can't just use this convenient closing price type, right? I'm going to have to use an indicator, and that's part of the reason why we came up with chameleon. So let's put chameleon on here, and we want to use the closing price here. There we go, like so. All right. So if we look at our chart, the way I set this solver up, essentially it's doing the same thing as a bar direction solver. Okay, so we'll just use this as our simple trade signal. So next, let's put a signal blocker in here. Now we can see that using the default settings for the signal blocker, right, we're blocking 5 bars. So we can see, let's take a look at this uptrend. Right, so we get a reversal bar here, and then it counts 5 bars, right? Counts 5 bars, and then essentially the reset signal resets itself, and it stops blocking the signals. Remember this, let's take a look at our solver that we have plugged into it, right? So it's blocking all of these long signals here. But after 5 bars it stops. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to up this to like 100 bars, like so, and alright, so we can see now it's not blocking until the bar resets. However, let's see, I'm going to adjust some of these resets on here. So I'm going to turn this one off and turn this one off, and alright, we have that one on, and put opposite signal. Yep, there we go. And here's a little tip. If you want to know when the signal blocker is blocking a signal, right, we have this output here that says blocked output. So if you set that to a low number like 0.1, I'll set it, normally I set it to 0.1, but I'm going to set it a little higher so you can see it a little easier. And so you can see whenever the signal blocker is actually blocking a signal. So I can see that, you know, after this, here, let me stretch my chart out a little bit, so I can see, right, after this long signal goes through, it's blocking both long and short signals here, right? So you will notice that, look, this first reversal bar, there's no signal on it, and there's no signal and there's a signal on the second one, and so that's due to this guy here, this allow opposite signal. So when this long signal comes in, right, it's both, the signal blocker is blocking both long and short, so it's blocking both sides when this long signal comes in. And the same is true when a short signal comes in. It's going to be blocking short and long signals. So if we set this if we want to allow an opposite signal to come through, or allow an opposite signal to not be blocked, right, we can set that to true. And now if you look at this, right, it totally changed the behavior of the signal blocker. So now, right, this down signal happened on the first reversal bar. And if we look at the outputs here, let's take a look at these outputs, right? So this long signal, let's mark it here, right? Oops. So on this signal here, we can see now that the signal blocker, it's only blocking the long signals now. It's not blocking the short signals anymore. Since the short signals are not being blocked, the first short signal to come through, you know, comes through on the first reversal down bar, like so. Right? If we set this to, if we leave this on false, then what happens is this first reversal bar, so this first reversal bar here, right, this short signal from this bar essentially is resetting the signal blocker. So because I have input opposite signal, let me stretch this out a little bit. There we go. So this input opposite signal, right, So if we're, if our reference point is these long signals, right, this short signal is it's opposite of the long signals. So this first short signal that came in here, and let me stretch this out a little bit, reset the signal blocker, and then on the second bar is when we actually get the signal out of the signal blocker. So I think it's safe to say that traditionally most people are going to want to set this to true, right? I think you're going to want to set this to true for most situations. So all right, so we've kind of got an initial signal blocking system set up here, but for the sake of argument, or for the sake of this example, I'm going to turn that off, and so I don't have it, so none of my resets on, they're all are on, they're actually all set to false. And when we do this, right, we see a lot of different behavior. So right, so essentially what's happening is the signal blocker is counting 100 bars, or it's blocking for 100 bars. So if we take a look at this short signal here, right, essentially this other short signal here is 100 bars or more back, right? So this distance here, and actually I can nail it right here. So I can see right there that my signal blocker turned off. So it counted for 100 bars, right? So I can see this arrow is representing 100 bars that the signal blocker is blocking, and then it stops blocking until the next short signal comes in, and then it starts blocking again. But we don't want to have to wait 100 bars. We want the signal blocker to be reset right on the first reversal bar, or the second or the third reversal bar. So let's start connecting these reset signals in that we created earlier. Alright, so this is a reset on the first reversal bar, and in order to get this reset connector to work, I need to go in here. I need to click on the node first. There we go. Okay, so we need to turn on, let's see, this reset opposite signal. So when the word reset, so this description name starts with the word reset. This one starts with reset and reset. So these settings refer to that reset connection. And the reset labels that start with the word input, right, refer to the input connector. So we want, in this case, we want to reset on the opposite signal. So I'm going to set that to true. And there we go. Let me stretch this out. Alright, so we can see that our signal blocker is now allowing the first reversal signal through. like so. Alright, so whenever we get the first reversal signal, it comes through. So now let's use this other reset signal, which will occur on the second bar. And look at that. Yeah, just as I was connecting, I realized what I was doing. So actually, let's see, let's figure out which one of these reset conditions we actually want here. And yeah, here we go. So here's actually a case where yeah, here's actually a case where we're going to want to set this to false. And so if I set this to false, let's go back to this first bar reset signal. So now you can see it's actually resetting, or the signal's getting through on the second bar. Right, so the second reversal bar, the signal is getting through. And so what I did, right, is I changed the allow opposite signals. Right, so I changed it to false. So if I change it to true, you can see it changes the behavior in such a way that the first reversal signal gets through. If I change it back to false, then what happens? Right, let's take a look. So we're looking at the reversal signal. So I'll just mark the reversal signals here. So when allow opposite signal is set to false, right, we can look at the output here, and we can see that the long signal is being blocked. Right, it's being blocked, and then on this bar here, remember this arrow represents our reset signal. So that resets the signal blocker and then allows the next trade signal to come through. Right, allows the next trade signal to come through, and then the signal blocker starts blocking signals again. And we can see it's blocking the long and the short side. So, right, and if I turn this back to true, right, we can see that when we get the short signal, the long signals are not being blocked. They're not being blocked. So that way the first long trade signal comes through. All right, in other words, the first trade signal from this guy, from the input, goes through. So, all right, so if I simply just want to kind of delay the number of bars to actually allow the trade signal to come through, right, now I have these other conditions here that I can use. Right, so there we go, the trade signal on the third bar comes through now. Right, so we got the first bar, second bar, third bar, and of course this one is going to wait for the fourth bar. So the fourth bar, in the same direction, the signal is going to come through. And so in some situations we can see here we didn't get any short signals here on this little downtrend, right? On this 3-bar downtrend, no signals. This 3-bar downtrend, no short signals, right? So interesting though. Look at this. It looks like so it's interesting. We got, let's see, we got 3 bars in a row, and then the first long signal came through. Yeah, let's see, because we're waiting, yeah, we're waiting 3 bars. Interesting. So it looks like we need some more logic here. So let's try using some of these other reset options. And Alright, so let's think about this. See what's going on here. So we should, yeah, we should be getting a long signal here. And okay, so I'm going to check my reset signals here and see what's going on. Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, so here's what's going on. So on the third down bar, I'm getting a short reset. Yeah, the third down bar getting a short reset. So that, depending on, let's see here. Let me draw an arrow. So I'm looking at this bar right here. Stretch this out. Yeah, so I'm looking at that bar, and also this is the same case here. So we get a short, right, so this is the reset signals that we're looking at. So remember, we're looking at the reset signals here. And so Alright, so I'm looking at, I'm trying to determine why this short signal got through on the first bar. So if I look at the output here, right, I can see the signal blocker is not blocking the shorts anymore. Right, this is the last bar that the shorts are getting blocked, and they're not getting blocked anymore. And that's because, remember, I had I've got a reset signal here. So that stopped blocking. So it looks like we need, yeah, we need a little more complex logic here in this situation. Well, I know a simple solution. Yeah, it's just, we just happen to be, basically at the mercy of price action here. So price action comes down for 3 bars. It resets the signal blocker, so it's not blocking anymore. And then price reverses up. And so of course the first short signal comes through after that reversal. So we're going to need to add to add some more logic to kind of compensate for this whipsaw action here, right? This kind of consolidation here of price. So I'm thinking I can just do something simple, like, let's see, yeah, for these renko bars I can do something simple and use this bar direction, and I'll set it for a 4-bar direction. Like so. Alright, use an AND node. Alright, so let's take a look at this AND node here. So essentially, this AND node, or I mean, sorry, the bar direction node, sorry. This bar direction node, right, it's going to wait until we get to the 4th bar in the same direction before it actually gets a signal. So, right, so when there is no output from the bar direction, right, when I connect it to the AND node, it's not going to allow any signals through where there's no output. So if I connect that in, like so. So here's the bar. Here's the bar that we're hoping to filter out, right? This short bar here. So if I connect this guy in, there we go. Alright, so we got that filtered out. Let's take a look. And yeah. Alright, so with this, yeah, with this particular type of logic, we just needed an extra little filter there. Yeah, good. So all this whipsaw action in here, we didn't get any false signals, right? Price had to wait until it got to the 4th bar in the same direction. So no short signals popped up in here. And there we go. And then we got some short signals popping up there. So, alright. Yeah. So we just needed a little extra filter there. So, alright, so I'm just checking to see if Robert has any comments in here. Alright, so let's see. Robert was asking, would input opposite signal do the same as reset opposite signal? Possibly, Robert. Let's see. In this, yeah, I think, in this example using these renko bars, yeah, I think it actually does. At least in the case of these renko bars, because we're just doing a simple, price reversal, type of example here. So it probably would. Yeah, so Robert is asking, would input opposite signal kind of do the same thing as reset opposite signal? And I'd say it, yeah, in this example it probably would, just because we're just using, we're just using kind of simple bar direction logic here in this case. Although, keep in mind though, it would do the same thing if you wanted to signal on the first reversal bar. So it would do the same thing if you want to signal on the first reversal bar. So let's go back here. So set that to false. There we go. All right. Now, the way I had the signal blocker set up now, right, is I have input opposite signal, and I have all the resets turned off. Right, all these resets are set to false. So essentially, this this leader going into the reset is just being ignored. It's not being used, and we're only using the input here. So, and remember, if we look at our simple trade signal here, right? It's always on, right? We're always getting some kind of output from this solver as our trade signals coming into the input, right? So essentially, the input, is always resetting the signals, and it's resetting the opposite signal here. Now, if I change, remember, if I have allow opposite signals set to true, right? So we can see, for example, when this short signal comes in, the long signals are no longer blocked, right? So if I look at my BloodHound output, the long signals are no longer blocked, and then when this long signal comes in, this long signal here, right, I can see the short signals are not being blocked anymore, but the long signals are being blocked. So this being set to true is allowing the first reversal bar signal to come through. If I set this to false, once again, it really changes the behavior of the signal blocker. And now we can see it delayed the trade signal by 1 bar. Right, so we got the signal blocker was reset on the first reversal bar. Right, so it was reset on the first reversal bar, the first down bar, and then we had to wait till the next bar before the trade signal would get through. So, right, same here on the long side. Our first reversal bar up was actually resetting the signal blocker, and so the trade signal didn't actually get through until the second bar. All right, so essentially, when you're using the signal blocker, you just kind of go in here and you can just kind of play around with the settings, until you find the one that works right with your type of system here. So. Okay, good. I think I addressed everything for Robert there. All right. Let's see. Just taking a look to see if there was any other comments on this system before I move on to the next question. Oh, okay, so let's see. Robert had asked, why do we get 2 long signals within 100 bars without an opposite signal first? Let's see. So let me see if I can recreate this. Okay. All right. Thanks, Robert. Thanks for letting me know. So yeah, essentially it was just this allow opposite signals is what was affecting that. Let's see if I can. Wonder if I could find that and. Oh, look at that. Yeah. You know, it must have been like this. We got 3 longs in a row without a short. I'm guessing it's just the timing. You know, it's just the timing of the 100 bar blocking. You know, it just happens to coincide that we got a long signal through first before a short signal happened to get through. Yeah, it's just coincidence there. So, yeah. So we got 2 shorts. You know, it's just coincidence of the spacing of 100 bars till the next signal. All right. So Kenneth would like to see an example of how to have Raven execute only for certain time periods of the day. So, for example, from 7 to 8 a.m. and from 10 to 11 a.m. and then from 2 to 3 a.m. All right. Yeah. So to do that, Kenneth, we're going to use the time session solver. So it's not actually a setting in Raven. You have to adjust your BloodHound system up to do that. So let's see. Let me just make a. Yeah, I'll make a new logic template, and oh, let me click in that box there. There we go. All right, so we'll do an example of the time session solver. And to make this easier, how about if I switch over to a 2-minute chart. And I'll make a simple trading system here. And let's see, so I'll use the SMA 10 period that I have on my chart already. So I'll just grab a inflection solver and we'll look at when the SMA 10 period reverses direction. Okay, so there's our simple trade signals here. And let me clear out all the drawings on the chart. There we go. Alright, so we have a bunch of trade signals here, and we don't want to take any of these trade signals right before 7 o'clock. Let me just make that a little thicker. There we go. Alright, so we don't want any trade signals over in this area here, right before 7 o'clock. So hold on. Let me give this a name here first. There we go. Alright, so the way we're going to block those trade signals is we can use this time session solver. Right, so that guy is way at the bottom of the list down here, time session solver. So let's take a look at what this solver does. So right now, so it uses Ninjatrader's session manager. Right, if I open this up, if I open up this session, you can see it's set to the default 24/7. If I open this up, right, it opens up Ninjatrader's session manager. So that's the same thing. So what we've done is we hooked into Ninjatrader's session manager, right, from the control center. If I open up the session manager, right, it's the same window there. So that's what we're doing, is we're actually hooking into that. So this opens up the session manager, right? And I already have some example sessions made here. So let's see, we got first 2 hours of the regular trading hours. So let's see, so that's 8:30, 10:30 my time. So that's Mountain Time. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. No, that's Central Time. Yeah, so that would be correct for my time, that being Central Time. So if I click OK, and so let me move my line over here. So Kenneth, I'm going to modify your example a little bit. We'll actually wait until 7:30, and so we can see that, right, this session, this time solver here, it's time session solver, right, it's giving us a continuous output during the session time. If I scroll forward, and there we go, now it stops at 9:30. Alright, so we stop at 9:30. So what that would do is when we use an AND node, let me shrink this up a little bit. So when we use an AND node, only trade signals, during this time period will get through. And so let's connect this guy up, and alright, so only signals in between the two white dotted lines, that's the only time we want trade signals. And so what I need to do is grab an AND node. I'll feed my signal into the AND node, and as soon as I connect up this time session solver, voila, see, look, these trade signals over here, all of these trade signals disappeared. So if I disconnect that, disconnect, there we go. Right, now all the trade signals show back up, and I can connect that back up. There we go. So alright, now in this example, Kenneth would like to see several different time periods. So let's grab, let's see, how about if I'll put the time on here. Alright, one thing to keep in mind is that if you guys ask for this template here, the time session solver is not going to be set up the same as I have it, because Ninjatrader doesn't have a way to actually transfer these session templates. So there's no way to transfer these session templates, from one computer to another computer. So these custom built, all these sessions here with an underscore, those are all custom built. They're only on my computer. They won't transfer to your computer. Oh, look here, I got one from from 9 to 7. So I'll use that one here. Yeah, so this custom session template is not going to transfer to your computer. So when you get this BloodHound template, this BloodHound file, you'll have to go in here and make your own custom session templates. All right, so just keep that in mind. Hopefully in Ninjatrader 8 they'll have a way to be able to transfer these session templates from one computer to another. That would make things really convenient if they do that. Alright, so there we go, 9 to 7. I should modify my lines, move them over, there we go. Okay. So, if I look back, right, there's no trade signals at all. Yep, there we go. I'll use yesterday as that'll make a better example here. So just draw a rectangle. So there we go. There's boxing in where we're going to see our signals. All right, so let's add another time zone that we want to be able to trade in. And so let's see what other custom sessions I already have built here. Alright, so I have another one from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Let's see, that's going to be 12 to 2 my time. So we'll just use that one there. Alright, so let's see, 12 to 2. Alright, 12 to 2 p.m. Alright. So let's take a look on the chart where that's at. There we go. And I'll mark it with a rectangle here. Now, let's go back. Let's take a look at our time filtered signals right here. Okay, so now if we take this guy and plug it in, all of a sudden it kills them, right? It kills them because these, if I take a look, right, these session templates, they don't overlap, right? They're at different time periods. There we go. Right, they're at different time periods. They don't overlap. So I can't plug him into the same AND node. Right, so I'll have to grab another AND node. I'm going to grab a new one and essentially make a new filtered, time zone. And let's see, yeah, great, there we go. So there's our new trade signals there. Alright, so we got a couple of trade signals during that time zone. Alright, so I have that time zone and the other one. So now to have them all show up, I'll need to use an OR node. So let me grab an OR node, and this OR node essentially joins these two AND nodes together. So use that OR node, and there we go. Now I have signals in both time zones there. Alright. So if I wanted a third time zone, let me connect this solver up. Alright, let's see if I have another session template here to use. And all right, I'll make one here. So let me just make one here. I'll grab a new one. All right, and I like to use an underscore because it puts it at the top of the list, as you guys have seen. So let's go from 10 to 11 a.m. And alright, so we're going from 10 to 11 in the morning. So I have Monday set up, and here's a little shortcut. If you right click on it, then you get this little shortcut here, add Monday through Friday. Bingo, there you go. Monday through Friday has been added from 10 to 11, and I just hit save. Let's see, oh, it's Central Time. Let me change my time zone. Alright, change my time zone. There we go. Alright, save it. Click OK. And there we go. Look at the chart. And so now I have this third trading range, like so. And you guys probably figured out by now that I just need a third AND node, and connect that guy in there, connect the trade signals in. There we go, we have some trade signals now in that time zone. And we connect up the OR node and connect the third AND node into the OR node. So there we go. So essentially, Kenneth, what you got to do is filter out the time periods in BloodHound, and then when you put this in Raven, you know, obviously Raven's not going to trade during those, or Raven's only going to trade when it gets signaled during those time zones. So there you go. All right, so I'll move on to the next question here, and I'm going to see if there's any comments on this first. And yeah, you know what? Celso's got a good point here. Celso has a good suggestion. There's another way that I could do this. That's probably a little simpler. And what I can do is take all these time session solvers, connect them into an OR node. Right, if we take a look at our chart, there we go. Right, so we have all these sections of time here all blocked out. And then I can just take this OR node, connect it into one AND node, so there's less solvers, or less objects on your chart, or less object on your logic template there, and we get the same result. Right. So, essentially the key piece is to get the time of day, the zones that you want to trade in. Get those all set up, take a look at them, and then feed them into an AND node, like so. Alright, good suggestions, Celso, thank you. Yeah, Let's see. All right. So Kevin is asking what solver to use when he wants to take a look at when the stochastic pivots or changes direction. So, all right, Kevin. Well, we've been covering that solver quite a bit today, so we're going to use the inflection solver to do that. All right, let me just kind of clean this up before I make a new one. Let me just name this first. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Alright, so just once again, keep in mind, if you ask for this logic template, because you don't have these particular templates defined on your system, they're just going to get reverted back, to the default 24/7 or the default 24/5. So, and you'll have to just go in there and make your own custom templates. All right, so let's take a look at the stochastics. So I'll put that on here real quick. Alright, there's our stochastics. And, see, it looks like I lost my default settings here. Just a sec. When I get the default settings in here, yeah, so 14. Let's see. Oh, shoot. What is it? 7 and 14, I think. Yeah, I think 7, 14, 3 are the default. Alright, so let's set that back to my defaults. Great. Okay, now that I got my indicator set up. Alright, so I have this, I added a new logic template here. And what we're going to do is grab the inflection solver there. So this is the inflection solver. Connect that up. And I'm going to change the indicator over to my stochastics. There we go. Yep, 7, 14, and 3 are the default settings. Okay, so I'm going to look at %D. We'll take a look at %D. And there we go. So now I can tell whenever, right, the stochastic changes direction there. So if I want to look at the actual direction of the stochastics, then I can use a slope solver and change this over to the stochastics like so. And let me rename these before I get too far. go. Give these solvers a name. Okay, so now we can see that with the right, we can see the output of that solver matches the direction of the stochastics, right? So if you always want to be trading in the direction of the stochastics, then your best option is the slope solver there, right? If you just want to know when the stochastic changes direction, there you go. You can just use the inflection solver, right? So, okay, cool. There's a couple options for you, Kevin. John would like to know, how can we filter out when the stochastic in the slope, or let's see, when the stochastic. All right. So I think what John is looking for is when the stochastic is either below 20 or above 80 with a slope. Yeah, when it's sloping. So we have this section right here where above 80, and let's say we only want to see the slope of the stochastic, right, when we're like above 80. So we have two pieces here, two sections where the stochastic is above 80 and sloping up, and so that's all we want to see. So we want to filter out everything else. Yeah, so if we want to do that, add that filter, we can use the threshold solver. So we'll use the threshold solver. And let's switch the indicator over to our stochastics. And once again, we're going to use the %D. Let me name the solver first before I get going. Okay. So when you're using the threshold solver, keep in mind you have to input your threshold levels in descending order. So I want to know when the stochastic is above 80, right? And I want to know when it's below 20. And this right now is not in descending order because 0 is less than 20. So I need to put some kind of value in here between 80 and 50 in order to get this to work correctly. So how about if I just go in the middle? I'll just say 50. 50, like so. And now the next step is you need to set your outputs up. So we need to decide, when do we want to see something. So in this example, when we're above 80, we're going to look for long outputs, right? We're going to look for a long output. So I can see the description says greater than 80. I'll set a 1 there to get a long output. And bingo, there we go. So we can see when the stochastic gets above 80, we're getting a long output. And you'll also notice that, look, we're getting kind of an analog or a fuzzy logic output on this. So when the stochastic goes from 50 to 80, we're getting a long output. Right, so that's the fuzzy logic part of BloodHound. So let me put, there we go. So that white line will kind of represent our 50 line. So we can see as soon as the stochastics crosses that 50 line, BloodHound starts outputting a value. So what we may want to do is kind of get rid of that fuzzy logic and set A and B to 80. There we go. So now it got rid of that fuzzy logic and just gave us a nice clean digital output. Alright, so I went 80 and 80, And then on the short side, let me see if we can, oh, we don't have any short output yet because we haven't set a value in our short output section here. So we're going to look for a short condition when we're less than 20. So let's set that to 1. Alright, there we go. So now we're getting a short output, and we can see when the stochastic gets down to 20, it's signaling us we're getting the racing stripes. If I want to change that to a clean digital output, right, I'll set D and E to 20. Like so. So there we go. So let's get back to our example here section. Alright, so what we're going to do is take this slope and filter it. So we only see the slope of the stochastic when it's above 80 or below 20. And I just simply need an AND node to do that. There we go. Alright. So, nice simple example there. And I should name my logic template here. Alright, looks like Eldon has a question here. Alright, so could you show how to set up a bar direction solver for the body of a HeikenAshi? Yes. Alright. So it looks like Eldon would like to kind of filter out his trade signals based on the body direction, the candle body direction of a HeikenAshi. So, yeah, you bet. Alright, so let's put the HeikenAshi on here. And alright, I'm going to put the HeikenAshi on, let's see, on a different panel. And, oh, interesting. It removed my bars anyways. Darn it, I was hoping the HeikenAshi would not cover up my minute bars. Let's see, calculate bar close. Trying to see if there's a way I can get my price bars back. And no, it doesn't look like it. Okay. So in that case, let me put this back up on price panel. Okay, there we go. So this will be pretty simple to do. Alright, I'll create a new logic board. Alright, so we're going to find the HeikenAshi bar direction. So, simply, to find the bar direction, you just compare the closing price to the open price. Alright, so we're going to use a comparison solver to do that. Alright, so this is the HA bar direction. So in indicator A, we'll put the closing price in there. So if the closing price is above the open, then we know it's an up bar. Alright, so when I put the HeikenAshi in here, we can see that there's some hidden data here. Alright, so we can see that we have, the open, high, low, and close prices here. So let's select the close price of the HeikenAshi for indicator A, and for indicator B, we'll select the open price. Alright, okay, so the open price is already selected for us. And there we go. Let's make this a little thicker. So, alright, you can see the output, BloodHound's output matches up with the HeikenAshi bar. Okay, so there you go, Eldon. And then, with whatever kind of other logic you have, you can just connect this into an AND node, and that'll start filtering out your trade signals with the direction of the HeikenAshi. Alright, so Jim is asking, he has several different kinds of renko bars, and he's asking, will it work with SI backtest renkos? Jim, can you tell me what it is? I'm not sure. Maybe you were referring to one of the earlier questions I was addressing. Were you kind of referring to this reset signal example? I'm not sure what you were referring to there, Jim. So if you could just let me know, and I'll come back and answer your question in a minute. Okay, so you were, I'd say for the most part, this example will work with any renko bar, because pretty much renko bars all, are all, because renko bars all have that conditional reversal bar amount. So all renko bars, price has to move a certain distance before the renko bar will reverse. So for that standpoint, that's kind of one universal thing that all renko bars have in common, right? Is that price has to move a certain distance to create a reversal bar. So I'd say that this example, should pretty much work with any kind of renko bar. Yeah, so if you have the Renko, it should work with that, and it should work with the Ninjatrader's regular renko bar. So I'm going to remove this HeikenAshi off my chart, just so we can see price bars again. So, and just so you guys know, if I go back to the HeikenAshi example, right, it's still this output is still based on the HeikenAshi, even though it's not on my chart. It doesn't have to be on the chart. Alright, so if we go back to the reset signal example, and I can set this to, let's see, there we go, Ninjatrader's renko. Let's build that, and alright, let's see, how did I leave this? I might have left this in a broken state. Let's take a look here. Yeah, I kind of did. So there we go. Let's connect that up, and yeah, let me straighten this out. I left it in a broken state, just showing you all the different examples, answering questions. Let's see. So give me a moment here to set these resets back up here. And kind of forgot how I had this set up. I thought I was just using the reset opposite signal here to get this working. And alright, so this guy, yeah, is waiting for the third bar. Yep, that's right. Okay. And all right, there we go. And nope, still missing some signals. Okay, what's going on here? Oh, what's going on here? Let's refresh the chart and see if that helps. And yeah, so I'm trying to set this system back to working on like the fourth bar, and what I'm trying to do is make sure that we don't get these signals here by accident. Remember when we get 3 bars in a row, and then that one would trigger. So actually, I think all I needed to do, yeah, was change that to true. Allow opposite signals. Actually, no, we wanted that on false. Yep, that's right. And reset opposite. And there we go. Alright. Oh, shoot, that's not it. Well, maybe this doesn't work on regular renko bars. I would think it would. Strange. It looks like that AND node wasn't stopped working for some reason. Which... Alright, just a moment. Let me restart Ninja. We might have just gotten into a funky state here. So... Alright, well, I'm waiting for that to load up. Let's see. Let me look through some of these other questions. Alright, so give me just a moment here while I get my bearings straight again and get this figured out. Alright, there. Yeah, okay, there we go. Now I think I got it. Let's see, I'm not quite, oh. Alright, I think I left out another, I left out like another requirement. Let's see. No, 3 in a row. Well, let me, gosh, before I hash this over, okay, yeah, as I'm thinking through this again, yeah, so the way this is working right now is, let's see, it's requiring, yeah, it's requiring, yeah, there's a couple of things going on here that can look a little confusing here. So right now, to get these short signals, we need three long bars, 3 up bars in a row, and so I get 3 up bars in a row. So like right here, and this 3rd up bar and this 3rd up bar, and that's resetting the signal blocker so that yeah, there we go. Oh, okay, there we go. Okay, so that and node, yeah, it's filtering out. Oh, great. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so the behavior is a little different on the regular renko bar. Yeah, it is a little different than the renko bar. So, you know, normally we would expect a short signal on this fourth down bar. We expect a short signal, but what happens is we didn't get 3 up bars in a row just before it. We had a little reversal, and that kind of played around with the signal blocker. So before I get back to this, you know, I'd like to try and get through some other questions, and then I'll get back to this. If anybody wants to, would like to watch me kind of engineer this a little differently so it works with the renko bars. But first, let me try and address some other people's questions before I get too involved with this signal blocker here. Alright, so I'll get back to so Jim's question later on about using other renko bars with this. Yeah, so Steve wants to use the SI swings, double tops, double bottoms. And, you know, thing is, Steve, I'd say, you know, watch it in real time. And you'll notice why you really can't build a system off of the, you know, hindsight is always 20/20, you know, so you got to be careful of indicators that, you know, that give you answers on historical data, you know, because you're already looking at price as it has already moved. But when you're watching price in real time, you know, how do you know if a double top is going to be made or not? You know, you don't know in real time until price has moved past that double top or double bottom point, you know, swing point. So let me let me throw the swings on here. All right. So let's see. Here's double. Let me find a good situation here. All right. So let's look at this higher high situation here. And all right. So you can only do this trick when your data feed is disconnected, right? So I don't have my data feed on. So what I'm going to do is hit F5 on my chart, refresh my chart, and now I can use my arrow keys and step through. So watch the label of the SI swing indicator. Watch that label, right? So this is now defined as a lower high, right? It says lower high, and now it changed to a double bottom. But wait a minute, it was a lower high, you know? So what if you were relying on this indicator to tell you when, you know, these lower highs or higher lows were made? Well, look, it just disappeared on you. So in real time, you just got faked out, right? So double bottom, double top, double top, and looks like that did end up being a double top. So now we have a higher low. Well, that one actually stuck, but if you notice, let me back up here, hit F5 again. Well, boom, it says right there is your lower high. But wait, price moved down one more, so no, that previous bar wasn't your lower high. This current bar is your lower high. And that one actually stuck. So, okay. Now it says, oh look, we're in a double top. So, do you want to take a short here? You know, look, this indicator said, hey, we're in a double top right there. So, you know, your system would go, oh, double top, take a short. And then, oh, but wait, we have another double top. So you just went short too early. And, oh, look, a third double top. Well, you know, you went short twice now already, a little early. And now all of a sudden, oh, your double top disappeared. And now you're in a higher high situation, right? So you really can't, you know, these labels tell you what it is in hindsight, but, you know, as you're watching price in real time, of course you never know what it is until price actually stops and reverses, and then it actually locks in. You know, once price reverses, then it'll actually lock in, you know, the designation of that swing point. Right? And oh look, so we're still in a higher high. You know, so hey, you know, if I did expose, you know, I did actually look into exposing the values of these double tops and double bottoms and stuff, but the problem is, if I did, you'd be taking a short here, you know, and then price just took on off and made a higher high, and, you know, and you wouldn't get what you're wanting. So, you know, you can't tell what something is ahead of time. You know, you can't read the future. So, you know, essentially you have to wait for a couple of bars to go by before you actually know that, you know, I guess a higher high, once a higher high is made, you know that that's a higher high, but you don't know that that's the actual top of the higher high. You know, so I wouldn't actually know that this is the top of the higher high until I get a couple of down bars, and then I could say for certainty, you know, after 2 down bars, I can say for certainty that, yeah, that was my higher high point. So when you're looking at swing points, you never know what a swing point is in real time. You always have to wait for a couple of bars to go by to know if a swing point has actually been made or not. So I guess, you know, the kind of the follow-up question is, well, you know, can you build a system that, you know, looks at this double top and, oh, I wish that always seems to come up. So that looks at this double top and then waits for, you know, two down bars to occur, and then you get your signal right on your 3rd bar. And, you know, yes, you definitely can do that. You definitely could build a system, you know, that essentially uses swing points. So you can use our other swing high-low indicator, you know, to identify, you know, when a double top or a double bottom's been made, and then you have to wait for a couple of down bars to know that it's actually a double top or a double bottom, and then get into the trade. You know, but like in this situation here, you know, it's like, oh, we'd get in right at the bottom of this higher low, and then price would reverse on you. So, yeah, so it's kind of a, I mean, you could build that, but it doesn't really guarantee that you're going to get success out of it. You know, like once again, here's another example. We got a double top, and if we waited for a couple of bars to go by, you know, then boom, price reverses on us. I mean, yeah, that is possible. I have done previous workshop videos on doing such a system, so I guess we could do it again, Steve, if you'd like. Just gonna ask, you know, so if you would like to see, you know, maybe next week, because it's getting kind of late, so I'm trying to get through everybody's questions here as quick as I can. But Steve, if you'd like to see kind of a something using, you know, using swing points, you know, if we find a swing point, if you want to see something using swing points for next week, then once you send me an email and kind of outline, you know, the type of conditions you want to see exactly. You know, if you use if you send me a screenshot of a chart explaining kind of the conditions, that would really help, and I can cover that next week for you. So, all right. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So Kevin's asking, can the colors be lightened up? So the racing stripes, we call these racing stripes. You know, really what it is it's a shading technique that Ninjatrader allows you to do. But we just call them racing stripes. It's a nickname from a friend of ours. So yeah, you can change, you know, the color of this shading or these racing stripes just simply by changing the color of the plot. So if I go into right, the indicator window and go into BloodHound, right, we can see I have we have the long confidence, and you guys may not see all of these long plots, and this is a little bug with Ninjatrader. Ninjatrader's putting on all these extra long and short plots, but they don't actually exist with this latest update to BloodHound. These actually don't exist anymore, but it's just a bug with Ninjatrader's chart template storing storage. The way they save chart template data, it adds the stuff in here even though they don't exist. But anyways, back to the point. So you can see this long confidence, right? I can take this and I can change the color. I'll do something obvious. I'll take this red, and how about if we make it pink, and hit apply, and there you go. Now you can see the shading is quite a bit brighter now if I change that to pink or something like that. Alright, so Marcy would like to see an if then else solver example. Alright, I guess I will give a super Heathcliff Notes version of the if then solver here, and then we can cover a little more in depth next week here. So alright, if then else example. Alright. I'm going to throw 2 on here to kind of illustrate a point. And let's see, I need to throw some other solvers on here. Yeah, okay, so give me a moment while I try and pick out some solvers here to make a good example. Okay, great. And I need one more solver. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna use this time solver here to control the if switch. All right, let me pull these together so we can zoom in here. There we go. All right. So essentially, think of this if node, right? This if then node. It's a switch. So let's see. Let me find. Okay. Let's shrink this up. All right, we'll shrink this up so we can see this. All right, so I'm gonna connect. So this time session solver is gonna control the switch of this if then. All right, so when the time session solver, when it has an output going into the if, right, so we can see, right, we've got this the long and a short output on the same bar. So what that's going to do is, so I'm connecting up the else first. I connected up the else first because look, here, hold on, let me draw a box on the chart to kind of illustrate. Right, oops. Okay, so there's the time frame of our time session solver, right, which is controlling the switch. So I have the stochastic slope plugged into the else, and you can see the only time we have something on the chart is outside of the time session solver, right? So the else goes through when when there's no signal here. So let's disconnect that, and I'm going to put this other one into the then. Right. So we can see that we're only getting price reversal signals coming through when the time session is essentially when it's on. Right. So this, the time session is controlling the switch here. So when you essentially when I think of this, I like to think of this as on or off. So when you get a signal, when you get a signal that's on, that turns the switch on. So when the switch is on, then goes through to the output, right? Then gets pushed through to the output. And when the switch is off, the else goes through. Right? So if I disconnect this and plug it into the else, we can see that when the switch is off, so all of this time, this right, the switch is off. The else goes through through to the output. So what you can do is you can have two different sets of logic going through the output depending on what your switch controller does, right? So this node here is a switch controller, and of course this could be, a group of logic, a group of logic that's kind of controlling the switch here. So if we look at the chart, we can see that we're going from the stochastics slope when the switch is off to the price reversal, right? So when the switch is on, we see the price reversal is being passed through to the output. And I have two nodes here because it's essentially it's two switches in one. So think of two switches inside of one. And the reason why there's two switches in there is because let's take a look at our signals that controls the switch, right? The signals coming in, there's a long side. So inside the if then, there's a switch for the long side only, and then there's a second switch inside here for the short side, because remember the long and the short side are being evaluated separately. They're not together. So to give an example here, let's take a look at this, and let me change this to long only, right? So now only the long switch is actually being turned on and off, right? The short switch is always off, right? Because there's no short signal going into the if, right? There's no short signal going into the if. So the short switch is always off. So let's take a look at this now, right? So we get a really kind of what looks like bizarre behavior. So we know that out here, out in this area, both the long and the short switch is off. So the stochastic passes through. But when we get into this time period, we know that the long switch is turned off, but the short switch is, the long switch is turned on, yeah, and the short switch is still off. So what we're seeing here is we're getting, so in this time frame here, when our session, when our time session solver is giving us a long output, right, in this time session here, the long signals, right, these long signals down here, these individual ones, those are coming from the price inflection, right? So those are coming from this guy, this solver here, plugged into the end, but only the long side of this solver. Right? You can see only the long side. So every time price reverses up, we get a long output when price reverses up. Price reverses up. And the short, right? The short output is essentially coming from the stochastic solver, right? It's coming from the stochastic slope solver. So we can see that whenever the stochastic is sloping down, that's when we're getting our short output. And that's because the short switch is still off, right? The short switch is always off. So the short output is always going to come from the stochastics. But our long output, it went from the stochastic solver to the price reversal solver. So essentially, right, so this is our price reversal solver. So that's why I say, you know, think of this switch as this node as two switches inside of there. Right? Because the long output and the short output are evaluated separately. So if I take our time solver and now set it to short only, right? Connect that in. So now we can see the long output is coming from our stochastic slope, right? Even in this area, the long output now is coming from the stochastic slope. That's because the long switch now is always off, right? It's always off. So, right, so we can see that there's no long signal going into the if. And so then, right inside of our time frame here, I can see that my short signals, right, originally my short signals outside are coming from the stochastic sloping down, but then inside this area, the short output is coming from when price reverses down. So our price reversal down, whenever price reverses down is when we get these short outputs. So yeah, so there it is, basically in a nutshell. It's pretty simple. So something that you may want to do is, a lot of people, you know, this seems to be that's probably the only hard part to understand about this if-then, is to realize that you have two switches inside of here. One controls the long side and one controls the short side, or the short output. And so a lot of times people's logic, right, that controls the switch is only giving them, you know, is only giving them a long or a short. It's typically not giving them both a long and a short at the same time. So let's just kind of modify this. You know, let's say that your logic here, you know, it gives you a long output. And so when your logic tells you that you're in some kind of a long state, right, you want to control the if-then. But you also want to control the short side, the short output, or the short switch of the if-then. So what you can do is use, there we go, this long-short modifier. So let's slip this guy in here. And what we can do is change the mode, right? So remember, our time session solver is set up to give us a long output only. And when we look at the modifier, right, its mode is set to swap. So we can see that it just swapped the long into a short but the mode that we want to use is I believe addition. Well, there's a couple of things. In this case, we could mirror the long, right? So we mirrored the long, and so now we have a long and a short. We could also do addition. You know, addition is kind of accomplishes the same thing, but I would suggest starting with the mirror. Use the mirror option first. I think most people, for how most people kind of build their logic here, I think they're going to want to use they're going to want to use the mirror mode. All right. So we can use the mirror mode, and I'll plug that in there, and so plug that modified signal. So now a long output, a long output from our time solver is now controlling both the long and the short switches. All right, so we can see that outside our time zone, the stochastic slope is coming through, and then inside the time zone, price reversal signals, both the long and the short, are coming through. Right. So, and wow, look at that. We actually got 2 bars where the stochastic is completely flat. That's pretty rare. Yeah, that stochastic's completely flat, no output there. So, I did promise I would go back and cover the this reset signal example here. So, first, let me get rid of that extra one there. So, alright, so for those of you guys who want to hang around, I'm going to finish debugging this here. Yeah, so I'm going to have to, I think I'm going to have to add some more logic to get this to work, to get this signal reset example to work on renko bars. Alright, let's see. Alright, I'm going to use I'm going to use an advanced technique here to help me troubleshoot this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a second BloodHound onto my chart. And I'm doing that as a visual aid. And I don't recommend doing this unless you need to, absolutely. But I'm going to load up the same chart, or the same BloodHound template twice, and so I'm working on this. All right, so the reason why I'm loading a second BloodHound is because I want to be able to see my signals, or my outputs, that's resetting the signal blocker, right? So being able to visually see that reset signal all the time it's just going to help me kind of figure out what's going on here a little quicker. So it's just going to assist me. So that's what I want to look at. And all right, click OK. And click OK. There we go. right. All right, so I'm just going to ask, guys, I really don't want to take any more questions. I want to just try and wrap this up and, you know, take care of this, you know, getting this signal blocker example working here, and then we'll wrap it up for the end of the day. Okay, let's see. It's now the danger that I'm encountering here is that, right, I've got the same BloodHound file open twice. You know, I have it open twice, so if I make changes, you know, in this one, and right, I close it and it gets saved, and then I open up the other one and take a look around, you know, say I want to take a look at, you know, this signal reset, you know, right here, and then close it. What happens is I just saved back to the same file in this configuration. So anything I did in the other BloodHound just got overwritten, you know. So I have to be very, very mindful of that, of what I'm doing here. So I'm closing this BloodHound, and essentially the file is getting saved in this state here. So I have to remember to open up the other BloodHound, which actually this is the one I'm going to be working on and modifying. So I always have to remember to open this BloodHound, open this one up last, and then close it last. So that way it saves the correct template back to the file on the hard drive. All right. Shoot. I was hoping I could keep my window open, but it seems like I'm in the direct path of the helicopter path. I'm not sure if it's life flight or if they're military helicopters, but there's always a helicopter at least once a day flying by my window. Okay, so I guess let me start with pointing out, you know, what the signals are, what signals we kind of want to see. So essentially what we want to see is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. So we want to see, you know, signals on the fourth bar in the same direction. Well, actually, let me just a moment while I rethink Robert's original question. Yeah, let me go back to the beginning here. Yeah, all right, so the original question is, he wants to reset the signal blocker whenever there is a retracement of 1, 2, you know, 3 or 4 bars, you know, etc., etc. Yeah. Okay, and oh, yeah, so you know what? There actually isn't anything wrong here. I'm glad I did reread those. So actually, yeah, this is working correctly. Yeah, so our retracement, let's zoom back in here. Yeah, just so many rules and regulations and requirements. All right, that I kind of forgot in the original question. Yeah, so the rules that Robert wants to know is, or the situation that Robert's trying to solve for is that, he wants to wait for there, to be at least 3 bars in a row, at least in this example. So to kind of reiterate what we had done, this set of logic, waits until we get 3 bars in a row, right? 3 bars in a row and a signal, right? No signal over here because there's only 2 bars in a row, 2 down bars. Over here, 3 signals in a row, we get an up signal. 3 down bars in a row, we get a down signal, right? And then, of course, over here we built the same thing, but only needing 2 bars in a row. So we can see this logic only needs 2 bars in a row to get a reset signal. So this is our reset signal. So we got a retracement of 2 bars in a row, and then we should get a signal afterwards. So actually, yeah. So this is actually working correctly here. Yep. See, we only got two down bars, but we need 3. So I'm using the option that, whoa, uh-oh. That was weird. I just had all my monitors blink out. Alright. Can you guys still see my screen? Does everything look okay? Just want to make sure go to webinar didn't get messed up. Okay, good. Thank you. It also says you guys can see everything. Alright. And let me just check something real quick. My screen resolution changed. I see. So I think that's going to mess up this recording. So let me put my screen resolution back. There. Alright, hopefully everything still looks okay for you guys. I had to reset my screen resolution for the recording so the recording doesn't get messed up. Alright, so back to the explanation here. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so the way this is going to work, yeah, we need 3. Yeah, we need 3 bars in a row to reset the signal blocker. That's the state that I want to leave this in. So we only got two bars in a row here, so there's no up signal here. Everything looks good, okay, but okay, so here we go. So we did get 3 down bars, and I can see from this other BloodHound down here that I did get, yep, a short reset signal. So I should have a long signal here. Let's see. Yeah, I should be getting a long signal there on that bar. So that's what we're going to try and figure out here. Why that didn't happen. Okay. Yeah, it is working. Once again, I am mixing my logic up. Really sorry for the confusion, guys. So I was let's see where. Let's see. We had. Yeah, we had a. Let's see, another example here that I was doing. Let's see. Yeah, I was confusing my logic up with another example earlier. So actually, I just, let's see, this 4-bar direction. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, so this 4-bar direction, that's right, was used in a totally different example. As I was going through all the signal blocker functions. Yeah, that's right. I was only using this AND node when the signal blocker was allow opposite signals. I guess, yeah, set to true. No, set to false, I think. Man. So I think this is the correct state. Let me look at the chart here. Yeah, so we need 3 bars in a row to reset the counter. So I guess I'll start here. So we got 3 up bars in a row, and then we got a short signal, which is correct. And then we got, okay, we only got 1 down bar, so there's no long signal, no up signal. But we got 3 up bars in a row, so we did get a short signal. We didn't get enough down bars to get an up signal, so that's correct. Let's see, we didn't get enough up bars to get a short signal, so that's correct. We did get 3 down bars to get our up signal, or long signal, so that's correct. Alright, we did get enough up bars to get a short signal. Alright, we did get enough down bars to get this up signal. Yeah, so forth and so forth. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so we actually want the trade signal on the first reversal bar. Yeah, but what we're doing is we're using the signal blocker to kind of filter out this choppy stuff, right? So if we're building kind of a simple trade signal based on when the bar reverses, we want to make sure that there was enough, I guess, pullback, enough bars in the opposite direction before the signal blocker would allow another signal through. Yep. So yeah, so like over in this area in here, we only got 1 down bar, so we didn't get it. We didn't get a long signal, and we didn't get enough up bars to get a short signal, and we didn't get enough down bars to get another up signal. Yeah, so there's no signals in here, and kind of the same in all this choppy zone here too. So yeah, so there we go. That's the state we wanted in. Alright, well, I'm sorry for all the confusion, guys. It's keeping all this logic in my head. Switching back and forth can get a little confusing at times. So I'll, leave it in that state. So it looks like it's working fine on the renko bars. It's just a matter of understanding the system you're building. So, and since it's not my system, none of these are my logic. Sometimes I get them all mixed up. So, all right, yeah. So with that, guys, I think we'll wrap it up. let's see, I guess John's got, I'll take care of John's last question here. When backtesting, is there a standard for slippage with Renkos? Yeah, with Renkos, use the length of the body, minimum. Minimum slippage when using a Renko is the body size. You know, you probably want to do the body size plus 1. Yeah, you know, I guess that's a safe minimum to use, is the body size plus 1. But you know, realistically, I guess depends on the instrument as well. You know, depends on the instruments, spread, stuff like that. So, okay, John, and everybody else, thank you guys. This was quite a long session. So, I hope your brain's not fried. If it is, go have a beer and start enjoying the weekend already.